Vista's Insight Progress Monitoring software is designed to identify and track those issues that are directly related to treatment success. We will monitor your patients for all relevant co-occurring disorders, suicidal thoughts and self-harming behaviors, cravings, and satisfaction with treatment. Everything we do is patient-reported online. How it works is that when a new patient enters treatment, your intake coordinator will open up Vista software on an iPad or laptop. They'll click on New Patient, which will log them out of the software and open up the Next Patient Permission form. And then they hand the iPad to the patient, who enters all of their information and gives Vista permission to collect their information and immediately report it back to your center. Once we have their permission, they're taken directly to an intake questionnaire where we get all sorts of information about what brought them to treatment. If they're in substance use disorder treatment, what's their primary drug of choice, and their drug and alcohol use history and addiction severity. We also get all sorts of information about quality of life metrics, their health, etc. And this is also where we screen them for the different mental disorders. We use the same academically validated scales that your clinicians are undoubtedly already used to using, like the PHQ-9 for depression and the GAD-7 for anxiety. So the intake questionnaire ends up taking about 20 minutes for your patients to complete. But at the end of it, we know a tremendous amount about your patients. And from that point on, we only ask about the issues that we know they're wrestling with on the update surveys. So the update surveys only take 2 to 3 minutes for the patients to fill out, and they're really not burdensome. These are designed to be given on a weekly basis, but you can give them on whatever schedule you want. Your clinicians can request them at any time, and we can also automate the sending of these patient requests. And then finally, we provide all of the data to your clinicians and management in real time in detailed patient dashboards. This is what you see when you log into Vista software for the first time. You'll see a list of all of your patients, and you'll notice that some of them have 1 or 2 red flags next to their name. Those are patients that in their most recent survey reported some level of dangerous thoughts or behaviors. And 2 red flags is what we call a critical alert, is a patient that on their most recent survey reported a high level of suicidal thought with possible intention to act. As soon as we receive one of those surveys, we will immediately send a text or email to you with a link to this patient's survey saying, here's a patient reporting very dangerous thoughts or behaviors. So let's say you want to see how a particular patient is feeling. All you have to do is click through on the patient name, and you'll be taken to their patient dashboard and see all the different things that we're monitoring this patient for. The black bar on the left is how the patient reported feeling in the 30 days prior to treatment. So what you can see is that this patient reported being very severely depressed prior to entering treatment. She's been doing a lot better since she's been in treatment, but something just caused her level of depression symptoms to spike. We're also monitoring Angela for anxiety, trauma, suicidality, self-harming behavior, several different eating behaviors, whether she's using drugs or alcohol, the strength and frequency of her cravings, how well she's getting along with her family members, Angela is apparently in outpatient treatment since we're monitoring how many days a week she attended treatment. And we always ask a satisfaction with treatment question. And at a couple of different points, Vista will ask an open-ended question. And what you'll find is that a lot of times your patients won't bother to answer, but those that do will often give you a very different type of information than they do face-to-face, because some patients are just a lot more comfortable talking to the anonymous internet than they are face-to-face. A couple of other things I'll show you on this patient dashboard. If you want to download a copy of this report to your computer, you just press Generate PDF. You can see exactly how your patient's reported feeling by digging into any of their surveys. So we're looking at Angela's most recent survey. And if you remember, her PHQ-9 had spiked. So you can actually go down and see which questions did she say she was feeling this way nearly every day. Another thing I think you'll find really useful is this patient summary report, because it reports a lot of the information that your patient told us at intake were the reasons that she came to treatment. So what you can see is her primary drug of choice, how much and how she was using, what other drugs she was using prior to treatment, how long she's been using her primary drug of choice in a problematic way, how severe is her addiction, what led her to come to treatment, and does she have some specific treatment goals that are not drug and alcohol related, like I want to regain custody of my kids or I want to go back to school? How motivated is she to remain drug and alcohol free post-treatment? How many previous substance use disorder treatment programs has she attended? And how about in the last year? There's a number of different pieces of demographic background and information on criminal justice related offenses. And you can also see any chronic health conditions that Angela struggles with. You can see whether she has chronic pain, whether she's a smoker, and is she a heavy user of the ER. So if you look at this prior to meeting with Angela the first time, you can get a lot of information that will help you be most productive in your first session with Angela. And also will provide a lot of the information that combined with Angela's intake for her biopsychosocial. The last thing I want to show you on the software is what we call the survey link page. And this is how you enroll patients in the software and track what surveys they've submitted and when their next one is due. So for example, let's say that Dana is coming in to meet with you tomorrow, and it's been a while since Dana has filled in her survey. You can click Send Request, and we will email or text a customized link to Dana's next survey directly to her with a request from you that she do this update survey quickly. For programs whose patients do have access to their phones, we can automate the sending of these requests. Most of our IOP programs, for example, have a send requests on Sunday afternoons to all patients whose next survey is due, so that when their clinicians come in on Monday mornings, they have updated information for most of their patients. If Dana does not have access to the internet or a smartphone and is in residential treatment, you can have someone on your program team find her in a quiet moment, click on her name here, which will open up her next survey, and log them out of the software. And then two or 3 minutes later, her update information will be available for you to look at.